The climax reached them without warning, leaving both of them undone. Breath torn loose, bodies trembling, clinging to each other as if letting go would mean falling apart entirely. They remained like that for a long while, foreheads pressed together, chests rising and falling in uneven sync, neither willing to break the fragile quiet that followed. Time stretched. The room slowly returned to itself around them, but neither rushed to re-enter it. After a long while, Lanja moved just enough to press a soft, lingering kiss to Wei Ying's cheek. Tender, grounding, almost reverent. Then carefully he eased away, settling down beside him instead. Close enough that their arms still brushed, close enough that the warmth remained. Wei Ying turned his head slightly, eyes heavy, body loose with exhaustion and contentment. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. Wei Ying shifted slightly, propping his head against his palm as he turned fully toward Lanja. He studied him in silence for a long moment, his eyes narrowing with deliberate focus, as though examining a puzzle whose answer he had already discovered but wished to savor. Gradually, that familiar spark of mischief returned to his expression, subtle yet impossible to mistake. After letting the quiet stretch just long enough, Wei Ying spoke at last, his tone light but deliberate. He remarked that Lanja was very dangerous. At the sound of his voice, Lanja's gaze moved fully toward him, steady and attentive as ever. Only once he had secured that unwavering attention did Wei Ying allow the weight of his words to settle between them. Lanja blinked once, just once. The accusation, if it could even be called that, did not seem to strike where Wei Ying had intended. Rather than bristling or growing stern, Lanja's expression softened almost imperceptibly. The tension in his brows eased, and a faint note of confusion surfaced in his eyes, as though he was sincerely attempting to unravel the meaning behind the remark. He studied Wei Ying's face in quiet concentration, searching for clarification in his expression, trying to discern what exactly was being implied. Wei Ying huffed quietly, amused. His fingers traced lazy, unhurried circles over Lanja's bare chest, drawing patterns that were more distracting than any words. He amended his earlier statement, describing Lanja as stubbornly dangerous, pressing the phrase with deliberate care as though testing its weight and sound in the open air. His eyes gleamed now, fond and knowing, touched with the faintest trace of smug satisfaction. More softly this time, Wei Ying continued explaining that Lanja did not stop until he obtained precisely what he wanted. Lanja parted his lips as if to respond, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he reached out, arm firm and certain, and pulled Wei Ying closer until he was sprawled against him, warmth to warmth, heartbeat to heartbeat. One hand came up to brush gently at Wei Ying's temple, wiping away the faint sheen of sweat with a tenderness that made the teasing feel suddenly intimate. Lanja's thumb lingered, and Wei Ying, caught between satisfaction and something dangerously close to affection, forgot for a moment that he'd meant to keep teasing at all. Lanja spoke then, with deliberate honesty, his voice low and steady, as though he were stating something disarmingly simple and self-evident. He said that if Wei Ying knew what he had refrained from doing to him, the meaning of dangerous might take an entirely different shape. Wei Ying's breath hitched, just for a heartbeat. The familiar mischievous curve of his mouth faltered, caught, stunned, heat flashing through his eyes before he could stop it. Lanja's hand rested at Wei Ying's waist, firm and grounding, thumb tracing an absent-minded line as if soothing him. Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy, while Wing visibly tried to make sense of the words, testing them, realizing what they meant not in sound but in restraint, in choice, in care, and everything they implied. Then he laughed. Soft, breathless, not quite steady. Wing let out a soft, intrigued sound, tilting his head as his eyes caught the light with renewed mischief. He remarked that he had assumed Lanja was already being terribly shameless. His fingers moved then, tracing a slow, unhurried line along Lanja's chest, teasing, deliberate, testing the boundaries he so enjoyed pressing. With playful curiosity, he addressed him as Hangwan Jun and asked what exactly he was cooking in that mysterious mind of his. Lanja did not flinch. He did not look away. His composure remained intact, gaze steady and unshaken beneath the provocation. Calmly, he answered that he was saving. Wing's brows lifted at once, surprise flickering across his face as he echoed the word in question. Lanja clarified in the same even tone that he was saving it for tonight. The words landed slow, certain. Wing swallowed despite himself. He opened his mouth like he meant to scold him, meant to say something sharp, grounding, accusatory, but nothing came out. Instead, his lips curved again, this time slower, warmer, unmistakably pleased. Wing allowed a slow smirk to curve across his lips, his eyes darkening with unmistakable amusement. Drawing the conclusion aloud, he wondered whether that meant the night ahead would be busy again. Lanja's gaze lingered on him, steady, untroubled, and entirely without repentance. He did not elaborate, did not soften the implication. Instead, he gave a quiet hum of agreement, calm and assured, as if the matter had already been decided. And Wei felt his pulse jump at the sound. Lanja's eyes darkened not with embarrassment, not with denial, but with quiet certainty. Wei let out a long, exaggerated sigh and rolled onto his side, stretching like a cat who very clearly had no intention of being productive. At last, Wing relented, lifting his hands in mock surrender as he glanced toward the window. With light exasperation coloring his tone, he pointed out that if they did not leave immediately, everyone might begin to assume they had chosen to enter eternal seclusion together. Lanja did not move. He remained exactly as he was, composed, unhurried, and seemingly unaffected by either the teasing or the practical concern. Wei Ying paused, the playful rhythm faltering for just a breath as he noticed the lack of response. After a moment, he called Lanja's name, softer now, edged with curiosity. There was still no response. Wei Ying pushed himself upright, brows lifting as he turned back to look, and there Lanja remained, sprawled against the bedding in perfect composure. One arm lay draped loosely at his side, his posture utterly relaxed. His gaze steady and far too calm for someone who had just thoroughly unraveled Wei Ying's sense of time. For a moment, Wei Ying simply stared at him, caught between disbelief and reluctant admiration. Then he clicked his tongue in exaggerated disapproval, remarking that this apparently was how things were now. He slid off the bed and bent to retrieve their scattered clothes, deliberately slow, deliberately obvious. He slipped into his inner robe, smoothing the fabric down his sides. Then gathered Lanjan's robes as well, draping them over his arm like an afterthought. When he turned back, Lanja hadn't shifted even an inch. Wei Ying walked closer, stopping right beside the bed. He held the robes out and tilted his head, eyes bright with mischief. He drawled Lanjan's name, the syllables stretching lazily between them as he suggested that perhaps Lanja was waiting for him to do the honors and dress him instead. He lifted the robes and gave them a small, deliberate shake, adding far too sweetly that he certainly could if needed. Slowly, very attentively, Lanja made no move to take them. He did not reach out, did not shift. He only looked at Wei Ying. And this time it was not a passing glance or idle attention. It was intent, focused, unwavering, as though he were committing every flicker of expression to memory. The smile playing at Wei Ying's lips faltered. It did not vanish, but it changed, sharpening slightly, uncertainty edging its corners. After a brief pause, he told Lanja to stop staring at him like that, though the lightness in his tone no longer rang quite as steady as before. Lanja's gaze softened, warmth gradually seeping into it as his lips curved, just barely at the corners. Wei Ying swallowed. He tried to keep his grin steady, to maintain the effortless teasing composure he wore so easily, but it faltered despite him. Softly he spoke Lanja's name again, accusing him, though without any real heat, of not even pretending to behave anymore. Even so, Wei Ying's grin deepened, mischief flickering stubbornly in his eyes as he leaned forward, closing the distance between them with deliberate boldness. Lowering his voice, he remarked that, for someone who spoke so little, Lanja was incredibly difficult. The words were playful, the tone was not entirely steady. Lanja's gaze lingered on Wei Ying for a long, measured moment, unreadable and intent. Then, with quiet deliberation, he reached forward not for the clothes that still hung loosely between them, but past them, closing his fingers around Wei Ying's hand instead. The garment slipped from Wei Ying's grasp, scarcely given time to fall before they met the floor in a soft, forgotten heap. Wei Ying barely had a moment to register what had happened, barely enough time to draw in a breath before the world shifted. In a smooth, controlled motion, he found himself pressed back against the bedding once more, the familiar weight of Lanja braced above him, steady and inescapable. Laughter burst from Wei Ying in a breathless rush, bright with surprise even as his pulse leapt wildly in his chest. He called out Lanja's name in startled protest, demanding to know what he was doing, though the question carried far more exhilaration than resistance. He sounded scandalized. He sounded delighted. Lanja didn't answer. If anything, he looked like he hadn't heard Wei Ying at all. He leaned down instead, mouth brushing along Wei Ying's jaw, then lower, lingering at his neck, slow and deliberate, like he was savoring every sharp intake of breath he drew from him. Wei Ying gasped despite himself, the sound escaping before he could contain it. He called Lanja's name, half laughing, half protesting, urging him to wait. He attempted to continue speaking, determined to maintain at least the illusion of reason, though his voice wavered. He insisted that they truly ought to get dressed, yet the words faltered into a softened murmur. Lanja's lips did not pause. The steady persistence of him unraveled whatever composure Wei Ying had left. Wei Ying squeezed his eyes shut, breath catching, as he accused Lanja faintly of not listening. A warm breath brushed against his skin. Then came another slow, unhurried kiss, deliberate and patient, as though Lanja had all the time in the world. Wei Ying let out a weak, breathless laugh, surrender threading through the sound. He hurried to apologize, admitting quite readily that he had been teasing and that it was entirely his fault. Very bad of him, in fact. There was no response. Lanja remained silent, unmoved by the dramatic confession. Wei Ying tried again, a touch more urgency slipping into his voice this time. He pointed out that they were going to be late, very late, even suspiciously late. Still, Lanja did not answer with words. Instead, he shifted, only slightly, but the subtle movement was enough. Wei Ying felt it immediately. The diminished space between them, the unmistakable closeness, The quiet assertion in that minimal adjustment. Wei Ying swallowed. Softly, almost cautiously now, he said Lanja's name once more. At last, Lanja pulled back, just enough to look at him. Wei Ying seized the moment immediately. Wei Ying rushed to fill the silence, words stumbling over one another as a new thought struck him. He demanded to know what would happen if Lanja's uncle came looking for him. What exactly would he say then? An apology? An explanation that they had been. Lanja cut him off. His voice was calm, low, and utterly unwavering as he stated that his uncle could come if he wished. Wei Ying stared at him, eyes widening in open disbelief as he repeated his name in shock. Lanja's expression did not shift. With the same steady assurance, he added that he would take care of it. Wei Ying let out a breathless, disbelieving laugh, the sound bright with astonishment as he accused Lanja of truly not caring at all. Lanja did not answer immediately. His gaze lowered instead, drifting to Wei Ying's mouth and lingering there with quiet, unmistakable intent. Wei Ying's protest faltered, dissolving into an unsteady sound as he appealed to Hang Guanjun for mercy, the plea far more theoretical than sincere. Lanja leaned in again, close enough that the space between them nearly vanished. He did not need force to silence him. The sheer nearness was enough. His voice brushed against Wei Ying's ear as he observed that Wei Ying was still talking. A helpless sound escaped Wei Ying in response. He pointed out weakly, though not without a trace of humor, that it was only because Lanja refused to let him leave. Lanja's hands remained where they were, holding Wei Ying in place, secure and unyielding, intimate without any sense of haste. There was nothing rushed in the way he touched him, only quiet certainty. Wei Ying's voice softened then, the teasing thinning as something far more sincere threaded through it. He said gently now that they truly should go. Lanja paused only slightly. It was just long enough for hope to flicker across Wei Ying's expression. Lanja answered, quiet and decisive, that they would go soon. Wei Ying let out a breathless laugh, his head falling back against the bedding in theoretical exasperation. He pointed out that this was not, in fact, an answer. Lanja did not argue the point, and in the end, for all his protests, for all his clever excuses and playful apologies, Wei Ying wrapped his arms around Lanja anyway, drawing him closer without hesitation. His laughter softened into something warm and content as it echoed gently through the Jingxi once more.